Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host is going to have to do a lot of talking this week because I am poorly. But due to the UK's deeply ingrained culture of presenteeism, I've still turned up despite the fact it would be better for everyone concerned if I'd stayed in bed. Your friend of mine, Dr. Luke Gledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'm good. I'm really sorry to hear you're not doing so well, Richard.
Yeah, kind of a week. I've worked most of the week, but kind of worked from home, so I didn't spread my lurg to everyone else in the workplace. But this increasingly sore throat has really reached a fever pitch today of all days, which is great. So there we go.
WFH and FFS all on today's Different Gravy.
That's right. Acronyms, we've got a few, but then again, too few to mention. Do we want to speed along into some news?
Yes, breaketh that hoo-hoos.
Breaking hoo-hoos.
The hoo-hoos has been broken. There's a couple of things to talk about. I'm going to go out of sync just to keep things fresh, but Nathaniel Mendez-Laing has been linked to the club this week. Any thoughts on that? Any memories of him as a player?
Well, interesting first. First of all, I want to talk about, I guess, wonder if we're getting towards a kind of one in, one out scenario, possibly with the exception of the kids on loan, because it kind of felt we've done our business, especially with the surprise of Silasau coming in. That was surprising. I was even surprised that as mentioned, Papa Chan broke the bank for the attractive looking lonely defender in the window when I pulled his coattails over that one. So I guess I'm surprised. I mean, unless I wonder if there was a mentality where a bit like, well, I don't know if we really bank Andre Green. Let me follow let me pull up the document for pronunciation of difficult names.
Greene.
Greenef. Andre Greenen. So no, he's not. I don't think he's a player who's like, oh, he's gone. We desperately need to replace him. We seem to have a lot of kind of options on the wing. So I'm kind of surprised. There's some rumors going around. Where that's coming from, I'm not sure. It could just be pure agent talk. Who knows? His agent trying to get his name out there, I guess. But I don't know how much. I'm curious if there's going to be any other business, any AOB at the end of this meeting agenda. That's whenever it's going to go. Yeah, actually, it's going to want some more players. Yeah. He's going to do that, or whether it's just agent talk. Interesting about Mendez-Laing. Interesting that I guess it's finally kind of come out a bit, like it was kind of seen like sworn to secrecy, like the scandal that happened, which had his contract ripped up at Cardiff. And
what was I?
Let's say he's maybe got a bit in common with Scarface, maybe. And not talking about like shooting people.
I see that.
I'm not saying that he's reloaded or anything.
He's only been for 3 months for that.
Interesting, because it seemed like a very there seemed to be some very hush tones about what it was.
They set a bit of a precedent for themselves that they therefore had to stick to, because what's the midfielder he sort of started at Tottenham. Now he kicks around the Championship.
It's narrowed down, Rich. I'm sorry.
Not Huddleston, but the other one. He's like that same sort of vintage. No, it's really escaping me his name, which is so annoying. I'm so sorry, people.
Every time of Huddleston, I keep thinking of Cottleston Pie for some reason. Ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lie. Huddleston Pie. Don't know why. So he served a ban, I guess, right? And then he came back, of all places, at Middlesbrough, because Neil Warnock likes having a large Jay Leno garage full of wingers.
He does.
This is what he does basically.
So did he? Was he there when he got his contract ripped up, and then was the person to welcome him back in? Is that?
That could well be. When was Colin relieved of his duties at Cardiff?
No, I'm not sure. Let's have a look. Let's see how these timelines intersect.
Yeah. Warnock was Colin was there at Borough for a bit more than a season. Was he there for a full season? Was he half a season?
So he was at Cardiff 2016 to 2019. And 2020 is when the contract was ripped up. So maybe more of an old pal giving his mate a chance or something like that.
Maybe. I guess the interesting thing is Mendez-Laing's a player who's always had a second tier standing. He's always been a player who's been in and around the Championship.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 20...
Well, I don't know. He spent some time on loan in League One.
Right, but I feel like he's bubbled up around the Championship quite a bit, and usually been around the top end of the Championship in terms of teams.
He spent the last 5 years Championship or Premier League level. So yeah.
So
29. He's not exactly over the hill.
I guess the interesting thing is, I wonder what kind of happened with some of the rumours of Josh Sims.
Because if we're still in the mood for a winger, you'd probably prefer him, are you thinking?
I think so. Yeah.
There's less baggage there, certainly.
Yeah. I don't know. It's really interesting. I mean, it could be okay. I don't know. I just feel we've got a lot of wing options who are, good in standing, but maybe also have a point to prove.
Yeah, that's fair. It's strange, given that we have so many wing options, that so far, and this is a bit of a spoiler for today, Darren Moore seems insistent on playing people that aren't necessarily wingers on the wing. It seems like an interesting... But you've got 7 wingers. Why are you playing a right back that's converted to a centre forward on the wing? But you've got 7 wingers. Why are you playing a left back there? But you've got 7 wingers. Why are you playing
a centre mid?
A fairly average centre forward there. But here we go. There we go. I don't know. It's interesting. I thought it's interesting because we were told with the signing of So and with Andre Green going out that basically the club were fairly happy with where they were. So it's interesting to now be told that we're in the market again. As you say, it might be a case that we feel we can get some value out of one of the present squad members and replace them with somebody who's cheaper. So it might be that that's what's prompted the change of tone. But I suppose being a Wednesday fan and having my constantly worried, cynical head on, I do wonder about whether somebody's injury is worse than they're letting on as well.
Yeah, we've had some interesting starts with this, haven't we? We've had some interesting. Yeah, there's an interesting narrative, I think, with looking at a lot of players who are out and who are coming back into the team. Like, when are they coming back into?
We've been told October, but that seems a long way, and we still haven't heard anything. I don't know whether he should be out running now or whatever. I don't know.
Well, we've heard more from Windass than we've had from the club.
Yeah.
The last updates come from the man himself.
And then, obviously, Luongo played one game really well, probably man of the match performance, and is injured again. Doesn't make the squad today.
Yeah.
Again, Hutchinson didn't make the squad today, despite the fact we were told he was really close. I don't know. It's just... It's weird that Mendez-Laing is the link, because a wing answer to any of those conundrums. But it does make me wonder, the fact that we're now saying, well, we're still on the lookout.
It's interesting. Yeah.
If I hadn't insisted on doing things the other way around, we could have gone straight into today's game, because already things look a bit weird at centre-back. But...
Also interesting, I mean, I've completely forgot what, I guess for the mentality that like it feels like we've been done so long in terms of transfer activity. I've completely blanked on the fact that we're approaching the end of August here. You know, the transfer window is going to be
just 3 days or whatever it is. Yeah,
finishing on Tuesday, which is it's insane. So I guess, but then technically he's a free agent, and there's plenty of free agents. It sounds like out there, and if that's a road we can only go down thanks to a quasi transfer embargo, depending on how you want to look at it. I mean, technically we're not in a transfer embargo, but there's still limitations on what we can do, as that's to be ratified by the EFL. Then that's largely our market. And then what is the limit for getting that going later? I mean, in terms of a player we signed previously in Andre Green, you know, maybe you should sign them sooner because gives them more time to get up to speed and get fit
before you sell them on to some unbeknownst European powerhouse
for a lovely jubbly profit. Yeah.
And he scored in the Europa League.
Did he really?
He did. Scored. I think that was his debut. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's I suppose it means we end up watching Jim White do his thing on Tuesday with some interest rather than going to bed early, which has been the case a few times recently.
But the rest of top tier football seems to be a bit bananas in terms of transfers this summer. So
lots of big moves.
Could be some theatrics there anyway. So
if
maybe delay that cup of chamomile, everyone.
Yes. The other bit of news is the Sunderland game has been called off because Sunderland have had enough international call-ups to postpone. So a bit of a mixed bag, I think, because we haven't talked about this yet, but with Bailey Peacock-Farrell being the first choice goalkeeper for Northern Ireland, the chances are he's going to get called up more often than not. And it does mean we're going to have to play games with Wildsmith in nets or somebody else. Yeah. So on the one hand, it's one less game where we are Peacock-Farrell-less, which is a benefit, but it also means, particularly after the result we've achieved this weekend, it leaves a weird gap till the next proper game of football, which is the 11th of September. So we've got now kind of 2 weeks of either meaningless football or no football from Wednesday to lick our wounds and bed in our 3 new surprise signings from Tuesday. So, I mean, what do you make of that as overall?
It feels like a blow. I was hoping that, the joy of being in this poxy division was that one joy is that, as well as potentially winning more games, would be that we wouldn't have international breaks. But then
the benefit of that is that we don't have quite the fixture pile up that you tend to have in the Championship. You don't have so many Saturday, Tuesday type weeks. That's the sort of...
That is a benefit, yeah, and that is a benefit for us, especially since there seems to be a lot of bedding in that seems to be been doing at the football club, and also like a lot of kind of surprise injuries and questions around people's availability within the club, right? So there is a benefit for that. I thought this was a bigger blow than maybe you were saying, and I think I know where you're going to go with that, Rich. I'm predicting that you don't want to see Wildsmith in nets, and that you'd much rather have Bailey Peacock-Farrell.
Yes, yeah.
What a surprise!
I think it's a situation we want to avoid if we can, and in this case,
which I'm not against, but I think I'd much rather play that game. Even with kind of one missing. I've no idea who Sunderland are missing. I don't know. Is it McGeady? Is McGeady still playing?
It's a mixture of youth internationals and first team internationals, because that was the question. There was a question. So they met the number limit, but there was a question then of whether youth call-ups counted.
Right. But it genuinely feels a bit like we want to be at our best strength. I feel like that's gaming the rules a little bit.
Andy Edwards was the last call up to England under 20s.
Right. I'm sure they're going to look at it from a sake of saying means that we're playing with a weaker team. So therefore, if there's any way we can make this happen that it doesn't count, then let's not do it. But I don't know, how good are your youth internationals, really?
Yeah. I think that what it probably shows us, though, the fact that Sunderland, a big, expensive team from our division, are sort of scrambling around to get to 3, probably shows us that this won't happen too often. So we're going to be in that scenario where Wildsmith drops in for games, I think, later on in the season. There's another international break before Christmas, I think. So we will see that scenario play out, I think, in the near future. But timing wise, I think particularly with, as I say, this foreshadowing of this weekend's result, it's just one of those where it'd be nice to just get our teeth stuck into another game and kind of build up a better run again. But we've got Newcastle under 23s, and presumably we'll play a pretty weak squad for that, and then nothing the weekend afterwards. So,
but then there is interesting kind of looking forward to that a bit of foreshadowing is that there's still those rules in play that we have to have. I think it's 4 of the same 11 that started. There's certain kind of stipulations around.
It's weird. It's 4 qualifying players, and the qualifications are quite weird.
Yes, it is strange. So
it's like if they've played a certain number of games in their career or something like that, or they've played a certain number of games last season. So it's not quite as straightforward. Last time it was 8 out of your 11 or something like that had to have started the previous game. I think they've been talked away from that being quite so strict. But I would expect to see it's a chance for the people that have, Sow and people that have barely kicked a ball so far. It's a chance for them to get out and hopefully get a run out. Almost treat it like a pre-season friendly, I think, and give everybody a chance to go play and get some minutes. I would expect Wildsmith to play in that one.
Yeah, very much so. I wonder if I think Brown's probably a player I'd probably pick from there, just in terms of playing this game, and he's played a fair bit of minutes, I guess. And it'd probably be a player who could probably handle it, I reckon. I don't know who else outside of that. Maybe Patterson? Byers, maybe. I think maybe Palmer might play as well.
Yeah, that would make some sense.
But I mean, I'm kind of guessing at this level, but I mean...
maybe. I mean, you might be the people that... Sorry.
No, it's a strange qualification term. So it's like, how do you meet that? Maybe Canberra gets a run out as well. There's plenty of players that can still build up some minutes and still have the physicality for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, fair enough. So, do we want to move on to...
on such a high note, let's move on to today's coverage.
Imagine if we'd done it the other way around and we had a really beautiful segue because we were talking about players and their availability, and then we get to the starting lineup of today's game. And already things look weird at centre-back. So no Dunkley, picked up a knock. No Luongo, picked up a knock. Wing dropped to the bench. But we still don't see any sign of Louis Gibbo.
He was playing / training with the kids today, wasn't he?
Was he?
He was indeed. Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on with his fitness, but it's taking a while for him to.
Well, I feel like Darren Moore mentioned him in his pre-match talk that he's fine, he's available for selection now or something like that. I feel like I'm just going to remind myself. But anyway, what the weird situation we end up with is Liam Palmer now plays not the third centre-back in the 3. He's just straight up centre-back next to Dominic Iorfa.
Yeah, and then we bring Brennan on the bench.
Brennan on the bench, yeah. Interesting.
And Jaden Brown comes in.
Sorry, go on.
Jaden Brown comes in at left back.
That was the presumption, but actually when they got out on the pitch, Johnson was the left back today.
Well, I was wondering if that was a latter game switch. But you think that was in place from the off?
No, Johnson was there from the off, yeah. I assumed it was going to be, when I saw the team sheet, I put Brown at left back ? But then when it very quickly, it looked like Brown was playing left wing and Johnson was in behind him, which I actually really quite liked for him. I think this is maybe, I know it's early doors in his Wednesday career, but I think this might have been my favourite performance from Johnson in a Wednesday shirt. I sort of quite liked his rangy approach to being a left fullback.
I do, but I guess I wonder about. I do want to talk about Brown, and I'm going to talk quite positively about Brown, just as a bit of a spoiler to this. But I find it weird that I expected Johnson to be the stronger of the two on the left flank, and yet it's flipped with the two of them.
I agree.
They've had a bit of a Freaky Friday moment in my.
I also wonder how much though was today that was a big. Morecambe, interestingly, come up from League Two, and they do look the most sort of League One team we've played so far, in that they had three absolute massive clodders up front and four massive clodders at the back. So I don't know. I don't know whether Johnson was there for some height at the back, because Palmer's not the biggest.
Interesting. Anyway, let's get into it. I thought about saying something else, but I'll kind of put a pin in.
Okay.
Let's kind of move on.
Something has been pinned.
Great to start up the feed and sound like I had a continued rainstorm on the audio until it was fixed. We then cut to football heaven commentary, which I was surprised at.
Such sweet relief.
Switch from Rob Staton to Andy Giddings, and it actually weirdly sounded like, I actually realized later, Rob was actually covering a different game completely, but it seemed to coincide with the beginning of the game.
Oh, weird.
So maybe there are a few seconds of a game early on where every game sounds the same.
Well, on my grotty stream, it was on the Morecambe commentary, persisted till about 30 minutes with an awful, like, type noise throughout. It was really grating. And
somebody trying to entertain a baby, maybe. That's what happened.
Yes, yeah. And he kept saying, "Oh, we're trying to sort out this gremlin. Tell us if we've hit the hammer in the right place." And then eventually, I don't know whether it was iFollow themselves switched over to the football heaven commentary, or whether the person manning the stream just switched over. But I was just so pleased to hear Andy Giddings, his dulcet tones after all that nonsense.
Wow, when could you ever think you would say such a thing? The hokey low TV angles always reminds me of Wednesday being terrible. I think maybe now, Rich, I've developed a Pavlovian response to Wednesday going to dinky stadiums and small grounds and shitting the bed. And I said shitting the bed and said, or maybe shitting the shed.
Very good. Yeah, if it looks like it's made out of Lego, we're gonna
maybe all our players are maybe gonna step on a Lego piece with bare feet.
Yes,
when they're scamping down the wing. Yes.
Yeah.
Remember when we last played them was in the FA Cup, and that was on ESPN with Megson?
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is that when they had? Oh no, was it somebody else? Leighton Orient that had Jimmy Smith. Was it Jimmy Smith?
Jimmy Smith. He was the Chelsea youth captain. He was the future, and then came to Wednesday, and we learned he wasn't the future. He was a rubbish player.
The man Jack Wilshere could have been if he tried a little less hard.
Exactly. That's the one. I don't know if he ended up in Morecambe, but he did plod around East London with Leighton Orient for quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I share the same thing, that low camera angle. Byers got a yellow card almost immediately, like a Hutchinson-style compulsion to pick up a yellow in every game is something that seems to drive George Byers and his slicked back hair. And the ref handed out another yellow very quickly as well, set a very, very low bar for what a yellow was.
That was the one where Den was hauled down
That's
kind of
right.
in the middle of the park. It was
Held hands with him in the middle of the park.
pretty much. I was commenting that this was a very sleepy start from Sheffield Wednesday. I noted that we were getting a bit of a mild shrimping in the first 10 minutes. And I was unsure what was happening. I don't know if you had the same thing on your feed. You said it did cut across to Giddy Giddings.
In the end, yes.
Okay, but we did have a lot of like Giddings and Laws. I think kind of Giddings basically, I think largely just asking a lot of questions of Brian Laws about, is this the first time you've seen Wednesday this season?
Okay.
And let's talk about the start. But so they kept talking about, great start for Wednesday. And I'm like, you must be talking about the start to the season because this game hasn't started very well. We didn't have a handle on this at all for the first 10, 15, I would probably say.
I think we did. Yeah, we started to get into it. Gregory had that first chance about 13 minutes in, and that was Wednesday starting to get a grip of things. And I think basically throughout the game, like when it looked like a championship game, we looked the much better team. We held on to possession much better. When it looked scrappy and League One-ish, they looked dangerous and looked like they could do, could sort of hurt us a little bit. But most of the time we were, controlling possession, keeping them in their own half. We were really, we dominated the game by and large. I think both centre-backs were in their half for long periods of both halves of the football match.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some chances there. Brown had a couple of fairly decent chances. When Brown got his yellow card, the ref was on a yellow every 7 minutes, by the way. That was...
Oh, wow.
Quite maintained that throughout, but he really was pumping them out like nobody's business. I think that's the thing. I think they can't control the match, so they just throw yellow cards around. But the problem is you only need to get 5 and then you need to miss a match. It does add up. It's not just it goes on in one game for you. I did get enough of the Morecambe commentary to get their complete bafflement that Bailey Peacock Farrell didn't just aimlessly smash it upfield every time he got it. Like, he's not got hardly any height or power in that.
That's fine.
He's trying to pass, He's not just trying to hit it as hard as he can every time.
That's funny. Radical types of football.
He really was making his head spin to the point where his co-commentator was like, I think he's quite a good goalkeeper. I think he's had a good start here and the fans really like him and he is at Burnley. He was having to sort of say like, I think he might have missed the point a little bit here.
That's funny. 16th minute, I loved Bannon blew off the cobwebs to slalom around, bring it back, and then he whipped in a beautiful curl, and Brown missed his slide in by a few whiskers.
Oh, so he
seemed very upset with himself for that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I hope there's going to be one of those things where once he gets a goal, he kind of calms down a bit in those situations because he's playing really well and getting those moments, and he reads the game really well. So he gets in good positions and gets those chances. I hope he has a sort of Kieran Lee-esque moment of clarity and zen that starts to come over him in those moments, and so that he can put them away, because he could be pretty devastating with his engine and his skill in that position.
I think so, and that kind of brings us then. As soon as that happened, we went on the break again on the 17th minute. Patterson absolutely swung one across, which seemed to evade everybody, drifted out to Brown. Brown picked it up, kind of brought it across, and then did a cross shot, which was apparently touched wide.
Yeah.
Was that a corner? Because I was unsure, because then I think it cut to the highlights. I don't know if we wasted a corner or whether it just never was a corner. I found it difficult to make out.
That one just missed. I think everyone just watched it go past the post, but we did waste a lot of good set piece opportunities today.
Yes.
This was such a stark... Bannon was so good in open play and just completely dictated things, looked a different... he's a different planet to the people he's playing with and against. But his set pieces were dire.
Mm-hmm.
how many he just passed. Their goalkeeper's massive. I don't know how tall he is. He looked like 6'6", 6'7", something like that. He just kept finding him, playing it straight into his hands. So frustrating.
Yeah. But again, I get that was the difficult thing. I mean, I think even kind of cutting forward, I was really near the death of the first half. I made a start. So unsure where we'll score from today, but I really don't think it'll be a set piece.
No, but our bits of play, when we put like 1, 2, when we sort of hit a groove of, it reminds me a little bit. I did, I don't know whether I said this on the podcast, but I said it during the match last week. When we hit those little moments where we string together 4, 5 quick passes with one touch and precision and pace passing, it just looks like the opposition just do not know what to do with us at all.
Completely.
And that's where things start to open up. And we did that a couple of times. Around the 24th minute and the 25th minute, we had 2 moves where we're not just taking the obvious pass, we're pushing it past a man and playing a more daring, dangerous ball, a braver pass, and cutting them open. One of them set up the corner, the other one set up the chance where Hunt chipped it onto the bar. But those moments where we just go through the gears much quicker, nobody can hang with us in those moments. It's just.
I agree. I thought there were so many great combinations, both on the left and the right. I thought Brown looked incredibly sharp and combined brilliantly with Den on a few occasions as well. Yeah, it was scintillating. Some of the build up and some of the play through the middle and out onto the wing was really great.
Yeah, I really liked Den's bursts forward. He had a few really nice moments where he just broke through.
Well, in the 36th minute, I noticed he unfortunately did an incredible 1-2 and didn't quite pay off. He just couldn't quite get there on the end of the second ball. That looked like that could have been the golden chance, the one that we didn't create today.
I did write. We sort of got into the meat and potatoes of Brown and Johnson, but when I was writing out my team sheet, I put Den and the BBs in midfield, and then Pato, Grego, and Jono up top. So I feel like that's worth it's worth a retread, even though it's really massively out of time now.
So you're just kind of seeing this game as a kind of like a Blue Peter kind of presentation.
Yeah,
I liked it when we brought Connie Hook on myself.
Oh dear, good old Connie Hook. No, but it was. I mean, I think there was some lovely bits of play. I tend to agree that like the frustrating thing is we're not like testing the keeper again and again. We're getting in good positions and then it's sort of falling apart at the last moment more often than not, which is a bit disappointing and a bit longer term, a bit worrying that we're maybe not doing what we can there. I just put they had probably their best chance of the game, the first half, and about the 43rd minute when Hunt had this weird little patch where he gave away 2 gift corners in a row. Yeah. And the second of those, they sort of nearly poked it in at the near post. And then we had our best chance of the game right at the end, which was a great cross by Johnson, and Gregory cut across, met it at the near post, but unfortunately just missed the far post with it. It went agonizingly wide.
Yeah. Sorry, I guess the interesting. So that was the first half. My halftime notes, I said I think and feel that the second half might see the game open up and then some goals. No shots on target for Wednesday at that point. The stats make it out to be a dull game, but we've been dominant and the goal and the lead felt very close at that stage.
Definitely.
Do you want to hear some of my fun, pithy comments from the first half?
Love to.
Brilliant. Yeah, actually, well, just to kind of feed into your note about the ref seeming card happy, Brown got a very soft yellow for kicking back a little, I guess. There must have been a bit of afters, but he picked up a yellow.
That 21 for them was quite lucky to stay on the pitch, I think. Cooney.
Wow. Right.
Because he just lost his rag with Brown. Brown did him. They clipped his heels. The ref didn't give the free kick. And then he just started kicking his ribs. trying to kick the ball from underneath Brown, and then Brown stood up and got angry, which is fair enough because he was just getting hoofed by Cooney, and it's once again it's Brown that gets the yellow. We had that the last week.
Yeah,
it's the reaction. Was it Bannon? Not last week.
It was Bannon. Yeah,
it was Bannon on Clare. So Clare does the dirty tackle, but it's the person reacting to the foul play that gets the rather than it. I think in the Championship or Premier League, they'd probably both end up with a yellow card in those situations. But the weird thing down in the dirt here at League One seems to be you just get punished for reacting.
It's bizarre. It is bizarre.
Cooney later did pick up a yellow, but he did another couple of fouls after that, and I just thought his body of work, given the low bar that the ref established for picking up yellow cards, I thought he was a little bit lucky to not end up with worse than a yellow from his day's play.
That was a pretty deserved yellow, but I thought it was really bizarre because they were talking about on the commentary that the Morecambe manager weren't happy about it for no reason, but it was a pretty solid yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, pithy comments. Giddings somehow reminds everyone that his car might be broken into. Is putting a downer on my trip to the seaside. Who invited him again?
Why did he? Because it's Morecambe. Was he being like?
I think he was just worried about his car being broken into. Like, there's some very strange kind of jazz beats that I got from Andy Giddings on the commentary. In fact, I'll jump ahead while we're just doing pithy shit, so we can really feel down in the dumps when our knackers get kicked in this game later. I think they were talking about what positions they played when they played football, and it didn't seem to have any context.
Oh, yeah.
But Giddings went, I played centre back, and he said, I nearly took off Dom Howson's head. There's some comment about that, and I said, Giddings talking. Sorry, you carry on. Please tell me.
Well, no, Bailey Peacock Farrell cleared it into the crowd, and I think it nearly hit Giddings. But like there was that, so that's what prompted the exchange, but it still went in a weird direction.
Right. So I noticed, like they said, Giddings talking about decapitating Dom Howson, Lucas fantasies of a Highlander with local football journals in it.
There can only be one.
James. And then I was going to say, I'm making an observation. I thought someone made the observation on Twitter. I think it might have been Joe Cran that said, I've realized that Wednesday have only played teams in red and white so far this season, which was an interesting one. I've made another connection. What is it with these third-tier side, lower third-tier sides and bizarre European keepers?
Yeah.
Seems every team we come up against, some mild Scandinavian find in the sticks that they picked up off a scouting trip on a fishing vessel. Did you get any good char today? No, but I got myself a journeyman Scandinavian goalkeeper.
Jökull Andresen, Iceland's number one goalkeeper under the age of 20.
Someone chucked a haddock at him and he put out some reflex saves to keep it on the ship. I don't know.
You know, Jökull, you're very good at punching the haddock away. Maybe you could be a goalkeeper.
Brilliant.
Oh, dear.
Oh, I think that's about it, really. Just, I think I kind of know it's for more kind of pithy comments while we're on halftime, while I'm looking at the coverage and the adverts on the old iFollow. Luke has still really missed the news that Jimmy Bullard is called the Bulldog. One of those nicknames you want your friends to use a lot to take off, but you can never get it going.
I don't know that anybody calls him that. Surely they don't.
But he refers to himself often as a Bulldog. I think in terms of the score line, it's a cricket score with him naming himself the Bulldog to anyone else naming himself the Bulldog.
He the enduring appeal of Jimmy Bullard is really truly fascinating and should be studied by scientists. I think we spend too much time looking at like cancer and AIDS and things like that, and I think probably what we really need to dig into on a scientific level is why on earth does anybody like that prick?
I don't know. He was entertaining for about 5 minutes in his footballing career.
Yeah, he seems to have built a whole his whole career is that Phil
Brown.
Phil Brown did the thing where he told the team off
Jimmy
at half
Bullard
time.
did it. Yeah.
And then Jimmy Bullard did it as a celebration. And that seems to be it. That's the last funny thing he ever did. He had long hair and he did that. That seems to be what it is.
I think his personality was like, oh, I like fishing. That seems to be his personality. People, the everyman can relate because they've enjoyed a good fish.
He's got exactly half the charm and the looks of Robbie Savage.
Wow.
Just made up of the remains. The beautiful thing about making a Robbie Savage is you produce a spare Jimmy Bullard every time.
I would like to see the two of them coming into contact at some football media event, and Robbie Savage went, I dodged that Papa John's advert, but you caught it, eh? Pick up my sloppy seconds from those Papa John wet toppings. Oh, looking forward to the Pizza Cup this week, Rich.
Yeah, it's going to be great, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to listen to it because no one wants to put a camera on it. And you're not going there. You're not trekking all the way from Chester to Essex.
No, I don't think so. Not for Pizza Trophy, no.
not to watch the creme de la creme of Newcastle United's academy.
Oh,
can they do something nice to us and just bring us out like Jacob Murphy so we can just watch him again?
Oh, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It would be nice. Also, more pithy comments about Radio Sheffield. I like the format of The Apprentice back at the studio trying to hide his jealousy. He didn't want to go to Kenilworth Road anyway.
Don't even like orange.
Oh, that's about it from the first half where, again, probably precursor into the second half. We looked dominant, but never the telltale golden chance to make any great difference to the Morecambe net. Not to get the Scandinavian goalkeeper picking the ball out of the net rather than a nice tasty haddock that he's caught.
Is it fermented shark is one of the delicacies in Iceland, isn't it?
Fermented shark, really?
Yeah, I think they put cover shark in ammonia and bury it for like forever. Like the ancient egg thing from Asia, from China.
I don't know. You have to talk about this. No.
Oh. Anyway. I'm disappointed by your lack of knowledge of weird Icelandic cuisine. Like, we almost started out the second half with an absolute thumping goal.
Yes, George
Byers just smashing one into the post, almost akin to Darren Potter.
It was a beautiful moment. Like you always love as a fan, or you're always screaming out when you feel like you're watching the game. And I think more so when you're watching something televised because you have no context of what's outside of the focus of the camera. But you're just dreaming of a ball kind of bouncing out that's being deflected out and the entire bank of defenders just turning to look at it. And then it just seems to hang in eternity while you dream of some nimble number 10 running on to just rasp it into the net, really, to just lead it so beautifully. I thought the thing that he did it so well was just because I think that's everything in everyone's mind as a Wednesday fan who's watching that. And then he just kind of steps up and does like a very diligent, cultured curl with his instep. And it just deliciously cannoned off the post.
Oh, so close.
I know. And I was like, technically still not have a shot on target.
Yeah. That's the thing. Don't get anything for being close. I thought Byers did really nicely again. Yep. Bannon sort of took another bad set piece and rushed his throw in afterwards, but Byers kind of battled for it and then poked it into the box, which set up Gregory to do a fairly outlandish looking overhead kick attempt, but he went very close as well.
Yeah, he did that kind of chip up and then the kind of swivel turn on the second bite of the cherry and just put it over.
You've trained with Stephen Fletcher, we all said. It was one of Fletcher's favourites, wasn't it?
And then from there, the 52nd minute, BPF gets a bit too casual with feeding the ball out, but Wednesday managed to press and win the ball back off the Shrimpers. Brilliant flowing counter-attack move, just going the length of the pitch, fed into Brown on the angle won by the goalkeeper, and the ball is struck and deflected wide from the follow-up as well.
It just unfortunately was one of those where he just never quite looked like he fancied it, did he?
I just think it was just like a half second off. He just didn't really get. Did he get a?
He just sort of dithered into the goalkeeper.
Yeah, and then it was kind of cannoned out, and then from that follow up, it was deflected shot. But
yeah,
that was just fantastic. The fact that we managed to build something just beautiful and flowing from a massive counter attack move the length of the pitch. From that moment, from a
first from Adeniran as well, leaving two players for dead and running straight at the defence as well. It makes things happen. It creates opportunities, and it's just I felt like it went to Brown, and it's like certain players would be their moment. You know, they'd be like, "Oh, great, this is what I'm here for," kind of thing. And I just didn't get that. I didn't get that vibe from him. I got a kind of like, oh crap, it's me now, which can sometimes work. But I think that moment's hesitation just meant that, as you say, he was kind of like half a beat behind where he needed to be every step after that. But yeah, I mean, amazing to turn around what was a slightly scary moment. And I think it was Iorfa with the interception that put us immediately on the break, which was very good. He's quite good, that Iorfa guy.
He's not bad, is he?
He's not half bad.
And he's got a new contract as well.
He's
got an extension. Got another year of Big Dom.
We should have probably covered that in the news section.
Oh, we probably should, but there we go.
That's good news, though. Very good news.
Very good news.
It's another sign that we are behaving like an actual functioning football team. It's crazy. I've got my next note's 58th minute. So the Byers and Bannon sort of combined really nicely, and Bannon fed through Gregory pretty much perfectly, put him with a chance on the sort of penalty spot. And unfortunately, it was a pretty poor effort from Gregory, I thought.
Yeah.
And I did ask the question, can he only score weird freak goals?
Maybe. Maybe.
I don't know how impressed I've been with his kind of standard centre forward play.
Yeah,
I don't know how good he is at holding it up.
I know. I'm happy to just keep reserving judgment on anything about Lee Gregory because if he could just keep coming up with these scrappy poacher goals, then I really don't give a shit. And I'll probably say that about Canberra as well. Like if we have an entire season, we do our player reviews at the end of the season, and we're giving them like mild B minuses, and we've got promoted. Like. But yeah, they've still managed to get like double figures of goals each. Then I really don't care, to be honest with you. I'd take that every week.
But then I suppose the problem is you have days like today where something a bit more standard in that regard. If we had Cole Stockton up front today, I think we probably would have won 3 or 4-0.
Wow. Interesting.
Because we didn't have that physicality and we didn't have the ability to build off our man in the middle. Because Gregory and I mean, even if we swap for Canberra, we'll talk about it later. But I would have almost advocated, I think, probably for doing a straight swap up there. But he does a weird job as a striker as well. Like he's trying to run him behind.
Yeah.
Today we sort of needed somebody that occasionally we could just ping it into their feet and they'd hold it up and let our other players catch up with play. I just don't know that we'll get that from Gregory. I don't know. We'll see. I mean,
we'll see.
I'm the same as you. If keep scoring the goals and the questions get kicked down the road, that I think I agree. The questions don't get asked too strongly whilst ever you're producing results. And as a striker, goals can paper over all sorts of cracks. It's just today there wasn't the goal, And there were 2 or 3 occasions where I feel like Gregory really should have done better. I think he should have done better. I think he should be hitting the target with the chance at the end of the half. I think he really should test the goalkeeper when he's in a position. Bannon put him in the perfect spot on his good foot, and his shot was pretty rubbish. Like, if you watch that chance back, as a striker, that's what you're waiting for, presumably. And he really did very, very little with it. So I agree that whilst, he's got 2 in 4, that's great. If he keeps that up, there won't be too many hard questions to ask. It's just, I think it's legitimate to ask questions today, because I think we could have done better with a better striker or a different striker. I put that Morecambe made the second of 2 quick subs and introduced the player apparently called Corny Doofus. Whilst I was checking that was his actual name, I saw that they'd scored. So then I was waiting on the stream for that to happen. Right. This started with Palmer bizarrely deciding to control the ball with 3 or 4 Morecambe players in close attendance. That led to a kind of scramble that gave them a corner. I don't know who it was that mistimed their header at the front post, but it should have been easily cleared at the front post, but it wasn't. And I think it came off a Morecambe player and then hit Adeniran's thigh and went into the open net. Really scrappy goal to concede after all this time of keeping clean sheets.
The interesting thing for me was, prior to this, was thinking about how I'm feeling about this game of Sheffield Wednesday football. And really, I was kind of watching it. I was kind of not really anxious. I wasn't really kind of worried. There wasn't any kind of sour notes. It just seemed kind of a real strong kind of pure apathy. Maybe a little bit like, I don't know, maybe taking a dose of ketamine, potentially.
Right.
But no great positive feelings, no great negative feelings, but I kind of felt relaxed, and I didn't feel, there weren't really any moments. The only one I could say was that was kind of like a half chance, the best chance they had at the end of the first half. Then that chance, which they blocked wide, that felt weird for me, because that was literally like the first time that I felt any worry about anything that Morecambe could do going forward. And then suddenly it was just kind of really just kind of set up with a real quick sucker punch. It was a very quick 1-2 for us to see that goal.
The worry, and I did sort of say it half jokingly, but also the other half of that is not jokingly. Complacency is a big problem, is a big potential problem for our defenders. I just think everything is so easy for Iorfa in this league that he sort of takes unnecessary risks, and people around him take unnecessary risks. Like, I don't know, but that wasn't where the goal directly came from, but the corner chance. We just didn't need to concede that possession in our half. There's also the fact that Byers was on a yellow. He should have taken down a player a couple of times, but obviously couldn't because he was on a yellow. So just all these things start to come back and bite you on the bum when you don't put away your chances. So none of these things, like, Gregory not being the best centre forward doesn't matter if we're a goal or 2 up. Palmer deciding weirdly to control a launched ball from their half when he's never been that good at, he's never had that level of close control in his life, certainly not a centre-back. It's not an outright terrible decision on its own, but it's a terrible decision when all the consequences come into play. And then also, like, missing that front post header, it's okay, it happens, but it all kind of had a really unfortunate domino effect on things, and led to them getting a completely undeserved goal. And sadly, given the way that despite the fact we'd dominated possession, we'd not really made the best of our chances, sadly, you almost immediately felt like they'd probably got the game there as well. Because I thought bring up more than one goal is still pretty remote once we've gone behind, I think.
I think that really fed into their game plan. That seemed to be the thing that Moore was talking about. And I just had a quick check of Darren Moore's post-match kind of interview, and said that was the thing that they probably needed, if we got the goal, that probably would have stretched them. And that probably could have alluded to more goals in this game and probably more goals for Sheffield Wednesday because they were very compact and very resolute defending around their box.
Yeah.
Which is still something probably because of, like you're saying, because of, lacking the talent of a talismanic, holding striker. We can't bring in other players and invite more pressure in around the box.
No.
So it's difficult for us to break that down. So that's the worst thing we need. I wondered about this because I was like, in my notes, I was wondering their thinking prior to this, like, we are going to concede goals. It's not like
of course.
Belly Peacock Farrell's going to have a clean sheet every match for the League One campaign. But it really felt for a long time like just the sheer competence and the kind of the easy, swaggery handling of the game, which I do think leads into what you're saying about having a degree of, what was the word you said with a C? Complacency. Thank you. It wondered whether it was going to be like a situation where, like, us conceding a goal is more about 10,000 monkeys with 10,000 typewriter boots on.
Yeah.
Well,
they've had one. I think it is. It's because, to be fair to the players that preceded Bailey Peacock Farrell, I'm sure Wildsmith is going like, well, I could get a clean sheet playing behind these guys. Like, we are not giving that many chances away. They had one shot on target today.
Yeah.
And that wasn't where the goal came from.
No.
Because
apparently it was Den with the own goal, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're being miserly. We look masterful and comfortable in defence. It's further up the field that the problems were today. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's always the case. A team that their commentary was all about how we were the bigger team and we were more fancied and whatever else, and we're the favourites. And I'm sure their manager's been doing that kind of siege mentality thing with them all week. And we played like we were the favourites. We dominated the game like the favourites, and they sat in and defended, and they did that job well. The problem is we didn't show that little moment of class in the box or around the box to get the goal. That's what makes you deserve to win in that situation. I also think, and we're getting to it now, but I think we made weird subs, which unfortunately was a bit of a feature from last season as well. And one criticism we've had from previous clubs he's been at, or from fans of previous clubs he's been at, is he has his plan, and then he's not very good at thinking on the hoof after that. And I think maybe we saw a bit of that today. Again, we're second in the league, so all of this has to be taken with the pinch of salt of,
right, this
is going well, this project is looking rather spiffing all round, but this is an opportunity to take stock, having lost to Morecambe, and look at things that maybe could have worked better. And so it's no use, even though things are going well, it's no use pretending there's no issues at all. So in particular, I thought so. So we brought on. So we made those changes. We made the two changes fairly quickly. We took off Patterson and Brown. To be honest, both of those I would question slightly. I don't think either of those players played so badly they deserve to come off. I brought on Corbino and Canberry.
Yeah, I thought Patterson that's probably one of the stronger games, kind of off a striker as part of that front trident, right? I thought Brown was great. Brown had a really, really good game.
But I just wonder, could we have? I know this is a hindsight 2020 sort of thing, but could we change shape? Could we have asked Johnson and Hunt to be the width a bit more and push Patterson up top with, I had a different threat. Maybe we could have had 2 or 3 strikers and people feeding balls into them. I don't know. Just it felt strange to like force Canberry into. He's not. I mean, he's barely a centre forward. He's definitely not a left winger. It just felt baffling. But I would have preferred to. I felt like Gregory had his chance up top, and I would have probably preferred to see Canberry come on for him, or put Patterson up in the middle and see how he would do. But I thought Brown was one of our bright sparks. I was sad to see him go off. I thought he looked dangerous throughout.
Mm-hmm.
I know he could have done better with his chances. And then for me, then we sat on those changes for a little bit. And I will ask you what you thought of the first glimpse of Corbino. But I totally do not understand the change of bringing on wing for Adeniran.
No.
It baffled me.
No, I would have thought you'd probably want to lose someone more like Byers as part of that.
Especially with him on a yellow. Because the way I see it, you got like Bannon and Byers do nice sideways passing. Bannon occasionally does push past a man and breaks lines, but not that often. Adeniran is all about that. And I think FDB is sort of all about that from what I've seen. I just, when you're playing against a team that's sat, they've defended well against us, moving it side to side all game.
So we don't want more players stroking
around.
Not
another guy that just helps you move it side to side. I just don't know what it...
Or diligently kind of culturally chipping it into the box and then not seeing anything happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I just don't know what it achieved. And I don't know what it was supposed to. And Corbino, now we can talk about him, I guess, but I thought he looked bright, but he was so far out on that flank, he could barely... It was sort of having to beat 3 men to get to the point where he could play a pass or a cross. So we were forcing this width with players playing inside out on their positions. A right-footed winger on the left flank and a left-footed winger on the right flank, but forcing them to play all the way out wide. It just baffled me. I made my end remarks for the game at the 78th minute because I knew we weren't going to score.
Yeah. Did you... I don't know if it was after that. There has a bit where Canberry got in on the angle. Somehow his shot was deflected for a throw-in.
That was the best. Yeah, that was sort of the best effort, wasn't it, I think?
Yeah. I think then I've got onto my notes about the Dom Howson Highlander. Corbinu, according to Giddings. I'm very unconvinced by his pronunciation of his name. It might be right, but it sounded incredibly wrong from him.
Yeah.
I don't know. They should... for some reason, his name wasn't on the sheet for journalists to pronounce.
It's strange, isn't it?
Very strange. Very strange. I thought he looked good. He looked decent. But again, I guess to kind of concede to what you're saying, we're asking him to do a lot in those situations. You know, I thought he had a really great great moment. Sorry, I said mint because I wrote Corbino as mint. He won a corner on the 88th minute with a great run. Just jinked it past 2 players.
Yeah,
and then just had the pace to really just get like whatever the Morecambe left back on toast all day.
I thought he looked good. I
did like him at all. Does it also put some more salt in the wound that Morecambe had 2 of the worst shots on the 86th minute and the 87th minute?
Yes.
They just absolutely blazed them out of the stadium. Really.
Yeah, we were in real bother because we'd committed forwards, and given the freedom of the land, they produced such terrible efforts.
And then I do want to say, just as a final parting moment, because there's not really much in the terms of notes, I was very similar to you. Like, it just never looked like happening.
No.
Johnson's terrible cross at the death sums it all up. Wank.
Oh, that was so annoying.
That was just absolutely dreadful.
We'd really worked brilliantly. We'd sucked them over to one side. We'd given him a pocket of space. And it started off bad. It was like a bad golf shot. It started off bad and it got worse and worse. Like it curled into the keeper's hands perfectly. Like it kept straightening up. You wanted to curl the other way towards our players, and it got worse and worse. Disappointing. But I just thought it was an absolute all game. Adeniran's been getting the ball, pushing past his man, and then creating a bit of havoc by running at their defenders. And when a team is set in, I mean, how many times have we seen it happen to our team? Last season, the season before, it happened all the time. We looked fairly good. The one I really remember was Norwich. You know, we've gone to play a good team, but what we're going to do is we're going to defend well, we're going to keep our shape, we're going to defend the box, we'll shuffle side to side, let them play in front of us, and it will be fine. That's fine until somebody picks up a ball and runs at the defence. Then it creates chaos and people move and there's gaps and spaces, and that's when you score. Taking off the one player that seemed interested in doing that just boggles the mind. I mean, we might hear that he's injured. That's the only defence for taking him off. The only defence. Because, yeah. And if we'd swapped it, it should have been for Gali Bashiru. A more like-for-like swap. But, apparently he's not. He's never allowed to play.
No.
Always on the bench, but never allowed to get on.
Yeah. Always a bridesmaid.
Always the bridesmaid. Yeah. I'm just trying to look if I had I've sort of cut into my notes there. Kamberi was a double whammy for us because he's not a winger. He's nowhere near quick enough to play that role. And the fact that doesn't have any pace whatsoever meant that Johnson had to keep very strictly to left back because he couldn't leave the door open for people. So we kind of neutered Johnson and lost Brown's threat. That was a terrible substitution. And it's like putting those two wingers, they had like 30 minutes or the best part of 30 minutes on those flanks. It wasn't working. Why don't we just why don't we swap it around for a passage of play or two? See what it looks like playing a left footer on the left side and a right footer on the right side. I don't know. It just felt like there's just it's so sort of stayed. And like Iorfa, chuck up. I'm not against when you're chasing the game. Chuck Iorfa up there for a couple of minutes. See if he can make something happen. I don't know. I know it's early in the season and it's not. You shouldn't be playing with. Well, we're not desperate,
no.
But I would have liked to have seen a bit more urgency. We just so meekly took the defeat. That's the thing. Frustrating. This was definitely in a fit of pique, and I maybe half take it back, but I did put Gregory as Rhodes Mark II. That's my final note for the game.
Oh, Rich. Oh, please take it back.
Okay, I take it back. I may or may not have my fingers crossed. Anything else from you towards the end of the game there?
Oh, no, that's it. That's really all the kind of news that's fit to print, really. No, just disappointing. I mean, it still makes me think there's plenty more games of the winning variety than the losing variety. And I think the performance kind of sums it up. Some things we can fine tune, right?
Yeah, I think, we were the better team by miles. It's those tweaks and things like that. My worry is we don't have a natural centre forward in the mould that would have helped today.
Yeah.
I hoped Gregory was going to be. I basically thought Gregory was a bit like Fletcher, and I don't know that he is. I think he's his own thing.
Yeah.
And that I'm sure there will be games where that's absolutely fine. But it does say to me we are really missing somebody in that mould. Kind of an Ati Nuyu type mould, to be honest. I know we keep coming around to it. But we don't really have a centre forward that does that for us. Can impose themselves on the game and move people around and help you build a kind of base camp further up the pitch. So that in a balanced squad, that still to me looks like a missing element, I think. I don't know that we'll be looking for anybody in the next few days. But that's I'd be very pleased if we maybe bring in one more option there. But there we go.
What do we think about honourable mentions for this game?
Honourable mentions.
Because I was going to say, prior to this, thinking about this game, think of it even as a 0-0, I'd still probably put man of the match. I'd go for Brown.
I like Brown today. Yeah, Brown's a good call. I thought Adenir had a few bright moments.
Disappointing though he's got that mark against his record for, an own goal.
Yeah.
Which wasn't really so much of him. I don't know.
No.
But
Yeah.
We will go down the record books as one against.
I think that means that Brown takes it in terms of being, the most honourable mention.
Mm-hmm.
Any villains? Anybody else?
I don't think so. No one did. No one did terribly.
No.
Yeah.
I really like Hunt's work. I like his. Just so many times he just drives at people. It's really nice to see.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating to come away from today because I think we should have been thinking about like this was a real test and we absolutely passed it. And unfortunately, we sort of failed at that first hurdle. This was a much better performance, though. We want the stupid. I mean, this is the stupidness of football, really. But we won 2-0 against Rotherham and played much, much worse than we did against Morecambe. We were a much better team against Morecambe, and have come away with nothing. So it's a funny old game, isn't it? It's a funny old game.
Yes, Richard is
saying about the disparity because we missed that Sunderland game. We've played an awful lot. We will have played an awful lot of away games comparatively to our home games.
Right, because after this, haven't we got like instead of, I guess, with the exception of, bringing the real creme de la creme of the Geordie kids.
Yeah,
bringing Biker Grove to Hillsborough. Are we on a midweek?
Are we? We're bringing the nippers.
With the exception of that, we've got another 2 away games, I think, before at home at Hillsborough again. Depending on when we can schedule, depending when they want to look at rescheduling the Sunderland game.
I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? We don't know where that Sunderland game will fall, but provided that doesn't fall before we play our 9th game, our first 9 games, we will have played 3 at home and 6 away.
And then we're home against Shrewsbury on the 18th of September, I think it is.
So interesting. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't get too bogged down by fixture list talk because at the end of the day, you do end up playing everyone twice. That's the long and short of it. Rafa Benitez used to talk about we were here and then we were there. But yeah, but at the end of the day, it probably all swings and roundabouts. So, isn't it, mate? Put your little bit of paper away.
Should we also follow a note by putting our respective bits of paper away, Rich?
Let's put our electronic bits of paper away and I can go back to resting my voice in a darkened room.
We'll go back to having a nap.
Yeah, but I mean, still second, despite our first defeat, which shows us how well it's been going thus far.
10 from 5. 2 points a game.
That's what people want, isn't it?
That is. I believe that's what people refer to as promotion form.
And I think a bright thing to come out of it, although it was a fairly limited cameo, I do think Corbeau looks like a very exciting prospect. He
definitely does. Yeah,
like to see him unleashed in the future. I'm excited for that. And who knows? We've still not seen a whiff of Sao or Show Dippo in the league, so there's bits and pieces to come, and then we're gonna ruin everybody's winter by breaking out Windass and just letting him go all Trumpy bum all over their asses.
Exactly. Shot all over their back 5.
That's right. He's got a big jaw and a big, big hunger for girls. Josh Windass. There we go. Well, I hope nobody feels as rubbish as I feel right now, and I hope I feel better. Hope everyone else feels better through the week, and we'll talk again. Talk again on the other side. I don't know what we'll talk about. We'll talk a lot about Newcastle's academy, I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
Next week, we'll find something to talk about.
Well, we might have a little flourish at the end of the old summer transfer window, eh? Maybe.
Yeah, a bit of that.
Maybe, perhaps. Who knows?
We could watch the match of a rival.
Support non-league day. I guess.
I'll go watch Wrexham and tell you if Deadpool turned up.
There we go.
No, see. Well, yeah, we can see. We'll have something for you next week.
You can tell me.
Never you mind.
If Fat Mac is there at the race course.
Ripped Mac and Fat Mac. All right. Cheerio, folks.
See you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.